Welcome to the Shark Bite Show, where we dive into the stories of our members, coaches, friends, and family of Shark Bite Fitness and Nutrition. All right, let's roll. All right, guys, today we have the momentous opportunity to welcome someone back to the Shark Bite family. Brad Johnson, he was a member here for a long time, way back in our normal CrossFit days. And then a coach for a couple of years, and then took a little break to pursue some really cool career goals that we're going to dive into. And finally, he's back.
Yes.
So Brad,
yes.
Thank you for joining me on the podcast. Thank you for joining me on the Shark Bite Show.
Awesome. Thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here. It's good to be back.
Thanks for coming back in general.
Yeah.
That makes me really happy,
Yeah.
So how does it feel to be back in the gym again?
It's awesome. It's been short. I've only been back for maybe say a week now.
Yeah, week and a half.
And it's been a lot of fun. It's been great just to see everybody again.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of faces that I missed, people that I haven't seen through the pandemic or just not being in the gym. So reconnecting with people and feeling like I have that routine of coming back to the gym and a little sense of normalcy again is awesome. It's been a lot of fun.
Yeah, I know how important that was for me back in, even May or, after I got COVID back in June when I had to take another month off.
Yeah.
That sense of normalcy was nice. I can't imagine for as long as it's been for you,
Yeah, it feels like forever. But interestingly, even though it's been a long time, just with the relationships that I had here at the gym, it almost feels like, you didn't miss a day. You come back in and you see the people that you used to see and that family environment, and it's like you pick right back up where you left off, and it's really cool to experience that.
Yeah, I think I had a reminder set to send you monthly texts saying, "Hey man,
yeah,
for you to come back."
just so we still want you. Yeah, we still. Yeah, that was tough. I always felt bad saying hey, not quite yet. I'm not ready yet, but the day is here though.
Yeah,
we're here now.
No, that's good. It makes me happy. So all right, let's back up a little bit. Who are you? How did you get involved in health and fitness? What's your history in working out or being healthy or sports or whatever?
Yeah, that's a good question. So played sports growing up. I played baseball all my life. Started in t-ball and played all the way through high school. So I was always a really active kid. Just either through playing sports or playing outside with my brother. Just anything that was active, had me outside moving. I was always really into. After high school though, when I graduated and went to college, that pretty much stopped 100%. I didn't do anything active. I wasn't exercising, wasn't playing sports anymore. I always kind of just ate whatever I wanted growing up, and that kept going. So I kept that habit to continue into college, but stopped all physical activity. And I had gained probably about 40 to 50 pounds through just graduating high school and then getting through my bachelor's degree in college through that whole time.
Well, anyone who can't see Brad, he's super skinny. So that would be a big change.
Yeah, I was probably about 225 when
wow.
I got out of college.
Okay.
And so that was I felt terrible. I noticed a huge change from being really active to doing nothing and then gaining a lot of weight. Felt really unhealthy. And so I knew I needed to make a change. And after I graduated college, I came back home. I started just doing running in the neighborhood and push-ups every now and then, and actually lost a lot of weight doing that.
Awesome.
But still felt incomplete in my fitness journey, and that's how I came to CrossFit, I guess.
And you came to us it was the second building, right?
Yep. It was our second location.
Kia, the big orange building.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. So yeah. So that's when I came to you guys, and I had actually tried CrossFit once before. My wife and I, it was very short lived. It was a Groupon we found. I had always been interested in CrossFit, so we went. I think the place was called Saltwater CrossFit in Fort Myers.
Yep.
I don't
They're not
think
around
it still
anymore
exists.
now,
It was really, I guess, not very well guided. You just kind of got the Groupon, you came in, you just joined in a class. There wasn't really any guidance or introduction to what CrossFit is or what it should be. You just kind of fell in and was okay, I guess I'm doing CrossFit now. I still enjoyed it, but I felt no real direction or connection to the gym. So after the month Groupon ended,
you're out of
that was it.
And it's funny to say, right? That was how all gyms were. All CrossFit style gyms for many, many years. That's exactly how it was.
Yeah.
You walked in, you're hey, what's up? Let's snatch.
Yeah. Do this really complex thing. You can hurt yourself. Well, let's go do it. Yeah. Which is cool, which I'm sure works out maybe for some people, but obviously there's a lot of problems with that, where you don't really learn what CrossFit should be and how you need to move and what it's all about. So that fell off. But I was still interested in CrossFit. I was a fan of the CrossFit Games, fan of the sport. I had known people who had done CrossFit and who had a lot of positive health experiences. So it was something that was still in the back of my mind. And I think it was January of 2015 when I joined up with what was CrossFit Cape Coral then in that second location. And you actually did my beginner's course then.
Yeah, it was cool.
Yeah.
It's so wild to think, right? Like I know that I have a hard time sometimes remembering, because we're lucky enough to have so many members who were here with us at that building, like when you joined, or even the building before that. Shout out Joe Frank for hooking us up at that first place. Yeah. It's hard for me to remember like that some people weren't at that first building, because it feels like you guys have been here for so long, you know?
Yeah. It feels like we were almost always here.
Yeah, right? Way. It's just like hard to remember the beginning of that. Okay, so we're going to talk about the beginner's course later, actually, so I don't want to dive in too much like that. But what was it like joining the gym, finding like a whole group of new people you didn't really know, having to learn how to do something difficult like that with people around you?
Yeah, that's it was really intimidating at first.
Yeah.
I think I built it up in my mind that it was going to be way worse than it was. It was really nerve-wracking. You're like, man, I'm going to stick out like a sore thumb. I'm not going to know what I'm doing. I'm going to look like an idiot or something like that. All those thoughts were coming to me. But once I got there and got through the first couple of workouts and realized how welcoming everyone was, how, everyone was on different stages of their fitness journey. And everyone was on different levels, but everyone kind of respected where they were at, and we were all just part of a team trying to get everyone healthier and fitter together. All those anxieties quickly faded away, and it kind of felt like home, felt like somewhere where you wanted to be.
Yeah, that's cool. That makes you feel good to hear, because I get it. It's scary to start new stuff like that.
Yeah, it's really intimidating, and you think, like, I didn't know much about CrossFit at the time. I mean, I knew most of what I knew was the CrossFit Games, and I think a lot of people have that same thing. So you see these guys and these men and women who are like at the tip of the spear. They're so fit and doing these crazy, insane things, and you think like, oh man, and I'm gonna go do that. Like, it's kind of scary, and you're like, man, I'm gonna hurt myself, or this isn't gonna work out well. But you realize that's not what like CrossFit or what functional fitness is, or what goes on in the gym every day. So once you realize that and realize how welcoming everyone is, it all fades away.
Well, I mean, you were one of the people I talked to about this when we were going through the change and the pre-change. But I mean, that's a big part of why we moved away from the CrossFit name, was exactly that. You see or hear CrossFit and you think of like scary shit.
Yeah.
And like, that's not what we're doing here on a day-to-day basis.
Yeah, no, that's not the goal. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that, right? Mm-hmm. Definitely.
Right. Like, if that's what you want to do, that's cool.
Yeah, but that's the sport, and that's not what happens in our gyms day in and day out. We're just people trying to live a healthier, better life and make positive, habits and changes in our life. And so it's a totally different standpoint where we're coming from here in the gym.
Yeah, we could talk about that one way too much. Yeah. I'll get off that. All right, so you had a really interesting way of becoming a coach, right? So I remember this. I don't know if you remember this. You've been a member for a really long time.
Yep.
You fell off the map for a little bit. We kind of disappeared for a little while.
One of my hiatuses.
Yeah. This is your I guess this is your second longest one.
Yeah.
Then kind of out of nowhere, you texted me and asked if we could sit down and have a meeting. I remember we were in the back of the gym on the blue mat, hanging out during, I think, a Friday open gym. And you just said, like, hey, I would really like to coach. And it was interesting because it was at a time when we were going through some pretty structural changes here in the gym. And I'd never had anyone up to that point be like, hey, I really want to help coach other people, right? There'd been a lot of people who wanted a free membership, or a key to the gym or access after hours, right? But you were the first person up to that point who'd come up to me and been like, hey, what I want to do is help other people through coaching. Yeah. Help me do that, right? And that blew me away, because I was like, oh my, like, talk about timing, talk about values and vision alignment. Like, it was perfect, right? So talking about that, how did that thought process go in your head? What was going on behind the scenes?
Yeah. I guess I couldn't have really planned that any better.
Yeah, no,
I had no idea. Yeah, I had no idea. None of those things were going on with you. So I did leave the gym, like you said. I had a hiatus, and it wasn't that I didn't want to do CrossFit anymore, or I didn't like the gym anymore. I was just going through a lot of personal stuff in my life. I was going through a career change. I had actually worked for Apple for a long time, and then had applied at a new company. So my schedule, my whole life, everything was just shifting, and I felt like I needed to take a step back and get things settled. And so that's originally why I left the gym. And when I got into that new career, it was a Monday through Friday kind of cubicle office job. I was not happy with it. It was not what I thought it was going to be. Felt very unfulfilled and unhappy, and took time with that to reflect on the things that I enjoy in life and the things that make me happy. And one of those things was CrossFit. You know, it had transformed me from a health and fitness standpoint and a self-confidence standpoint on a huge level. And I really felt like this was a good opportunity to give back on that. Like I wanted to give that, what it gave to me, I wanted to give that back to the community. And I felt very strongly about that. So I actually paid and went and got a level 1 that summer in June. And that only further ignited that fire. I loved the level 1. I met a lot of great people. And it really solidified that I want to give back. You know, I want to give back what CrossFit gave to me to others. And the way to do that was through coaching.
Right.
And so after I got my level 1, I wasn't sure what that would look like. You know, I didn't know if that meant, you know, do I need to open up a gym or do I need to find a place to coach? And I thought, well, why not start where I had done it. I had done CrossFit, and that's when I reached out to you, and you were very receptive. And then we had that conversation in the gym, and it felt like our viewpoints really aligned.
Yeah.
We were right on the same level.
It was obvious right away. Yeah.
Yeah. And it was a natural kind of transition, but that's really how that journey happened for me. Yeah.
That's cool. So, like I remember in that moment being like, man, like if this guy's not bullshitting me, this is going to work out really well.
Yeah.
Because, you know, you're still very green and there was a lot of training to be done.
Yeah.
And you went through our internship after that.
Yep.
I think the first phase of our internship, like our first iteration of that, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's definitely gotten better. Sorry.
Yeah.
It's gotten much better since then.
No, I thought it was great at the time,
Yeah.
but maybe I didn't know any different. So who?
I mean, it got you ready to coach classes.
It did. It really did.
And personal training. So that was fantastic. But it was great, right? Like the time you were here was awesome. And I think every time we talk to other to other members, I bring your name up, I get nothing but smiles and like, when the hell is he coming back? You know, so
Yeah.
that's a mark of a good coach, right? And while you were here, that was awesome. But we talked about it a little bit at the beginning, and it got stronger as you went to it. You kind of had a dream you wanted to chase, right? There was something you were looking to try to pursue, right?
Yes.
The thought process of that, right? I don't want to say, I'm not going to spoil it. He'll say it in a second.
Yeah.
The thought process of kind of that, of taking that massive leap, of making such a lifestyle change. Talk to me about that. And then what was it?
Yeah. So the career and the dream I pursued was a law enforcement position with Florida Fish and Wildlife.
Mm-hmm.
So essentially a game warden or a fish cop, I guess, as a lot of people like to call it.
I like that term.
Yeah. So that's what I wanted to do, and I think when I mentioned earlier that I had transitioned to a career and it was that Monday through Friday job and I was really unhappy, I was doing a lot of that reflecting on what are the things in my life in either previous jobs or hobbies or things that I've done that made me feel fulfilled, that I was passionate about, that I want to spend the rest of my life doing. And it was helping others. I love the outdoors. You know, I grew up in Florida hunting and fishing, and I wanted to help be a part of protecting that for future generations to enjoy. And so not only coaching CrossFit would help with that, you know, helping others thing, but I felt like this career would do that as well. It ticked a lot of the boxes of the things that made me feel fulfilled and that I was passionate about. And so I decided that I was going to go for it. You know, I was going to pursue that career, which, as we've learned, was a very lengthy process.
Holy crap. Yeah.
I don't think you can understate that. But it just felt like that career ticked everything that was interesting to me or that I was passionate about. So I decided to go for it.
That's cool. Let's talk about that process a little bit for what you can talk about it.
I think I can be pretty open about it. I don't think there's anything super secretive. So the first part of it is just generally applying for the job, which even that alone is lengthy. The application windows on those stay open for about a year at a time. So that alone feels like, you know, it's forever just getting through the application process.
I was so frustrated for you, not with you, for you. I was so frustrated for you during that process.
Yeah, it'd be funny because a lot of times you would ask me like, hey, what's next? Or like, how's it going?
Yeah.
You know, what's the next step? And I'd be like, I don't know. We're still on step 1. So that was kind of funny to go through. But so once you get through that, you have a physical assessment test, which I'm sure many law enforcement careers have. It involves like an obstacle course type test and a swimming test. So you have to pass that. Assuming you pass that, you go to interviews, and went through the whole interview process, then a lengthy background check process, and then you spend about 8 to 9 months up at the academy, which takes place in Tallahassee. So you literally, for me, I moved all the way across the state, and lived up in Tallahassee to go through their police academy there.
And only during the wildest time that's ever happened in our lives.
Yeah. With a global pandemic going on and all this craziness. So and a lot of actually civil unrest too, which changed how a lot of people view law enforcement and felt like it needed reform. So I was kind of entering that career field at a time that was very uneasy.
I didn't even think about that. Right, you're literally entering a field at the time that it's very possibly changing in ways like that.
It was kind of crazy. It left you're not really questioning, is it the right step or is it still something you want to do? And also like, what's it going to be like when, you actually get out of the academy and start doing the job day in and day out?
Well, so now that you've been doing it for a little bit, and we can talk about during the academy a little bit too, how, you were very physically fit before you left here. You were near the top of the leaderboard in every workout we did. You probably one of the fitter cardio people I knew at the time.
Yeah.
Well, how did that benefit you? How did your training benefit you when you got stayed to the academy?
Oh, it was huge.
Yeah.
It was huge. I was one of the things that prepared me the most for it. And I think when I reflect back on it, it was actually something, I believe you said it to me through your military experience. You said your physical fitness when you get there is going to be great because that's going to be just one thing that you never have to worry about. Mm-hmm. And no matter how hard the academy is and all this crazy stuff that you're trying to figure out and get through, just all the physical parts are just going to be something that you just don't have to stress about. And that really rang true. Through the workouts that we did, we did a lot of CrossFit style workouts, PT, every morning at 5 a.m. The smoke sessions where they're yelling at you and you're doing push-ups and sit-ups and running up and down hills and all that stuff. Through the defensive tactics training where you're doing like a lot of fighting and jiu-jitsu style stuff, whatever it was, I always knew that I didn't have to worry about my physical ability and whether I was going to be able to get through it. Like that was something that I knew I had. And so I didn't have to stress. It was almost just an afterthought and I could focus on, learning the other things that I needed to learn. And I saw a lot of people who didn't have that struggled because that was maybe the biggest part of their day was, am I even going to be able to get through PT? Or, oh my God, they're yelling at me and I can't even do a push-up. And like they're spending so much time and energy stressing on that they're not learning the other things they needed to learn, or they're suffering on the other things that because they're just worried for the physical aspect of it. And I didn't have to worry about that.
Yeah, and that's a big stress reliever, right? I mean, I know that we've had a ton of people who've come here as members and they've stated like during their no sweat intro, I want to join the Army or the Navy. I want to join the police force. I want to be a firefighter. I want to be some other public, enforcement officer in some way, or public safety officer where there's going to be like a selection portion or an academy portion. And without fail, everyone comes back and they're like, that was the easiest part,
Yeah.
And it's funny because I remember when I joined the Army back in 2006, that was not me. I was in really bad shape. I joined the Army during something called the Surge where you could have like a peg leg and no eyes and they would like find a way to get you
They're like,
in.
great. Yeah, you're our guy.
Yeah, they needed to throw bodies at bullets to, over in Iraq and Afghanistan. So they were like, yeah, man, whatever you need, come on in. So I got to basic and I was a video game nerd. I was very overweight and I was not ready to do anything physically, let alone what they wanted us to do physically, you know? And I remember seeing the guys in my basic training who had like played football or had worked out beforehand. And I was like, man, their days were just so much easier than mine. You know? Like they wake up and they'd be like, let's go work out. And I'd be like, I'd wake up and like, I'm about to get kicked in the face. And that's just how my day started from that point.
Yeah, you barely survive the workout and then you feel like you can't even move, but you still have a whole day.
Yeah, you got 12 more hours of training to do afterwards, right? I remember later in my Army career, I remember being like, that's not me anymore. Especially once I found CrossFit, I would then show up to the courses and be like, oh my God, this is so much nicer.
It's crazy. Reflecting on it, how much of a benefit it was. It almost feels like you had a cheat code or something because you just, it's not that you weren't pushing yourself during the PTs or anything like that. Because of course, I was, and I wanted to still continue to get in better shape while I was there. But it was never something stressful I had to think about or worry about.
Yeah, I just feel like knowing you got one box checked automatically. You're good.
Yeah.
That's got to be a great feeling. Okay, now being in the job, right? So you're out in the field pretty much every day.
Yep.
Right? At least 5 days a week. How has that been helpful to you now?
Similarly, it's still been a huge advantage and a huge benefit into my job. I mean, the one thing that's different about fish and wildlife law enforcement or being a game warden as opposed to your traditional law enforcement is we work in some pretty remote, pretty extreme areas sometimes, whether we're out on the boat offshore or deep in the woods, and you don't necessarily always have backup close by. So one of the ways I look at my fitness differently now in how it's beneficial is I know that if something happens and, I'm either chasing someone or maybe I'm having to fight with someone that I need to arrest, hopefully it never happens, but if it does, and I know my backup's not maybe 30 minutes, an hour plus away, I know that physically I can hang in there, for that time frame.
You told me that the other day when we were talking, and that was like a glass shattering moment for me. I don't think I'd ever realized that, I had some not kind words to say about how long the process took for you,
Yeah.
Because I was like, man, this is not fair. This dude has changed so much of his life to do this, and it just won't ever end.
Yeah.
But then when you said that, I was like, oh, this makes a lot more sense, right? Like you need to be trained in a very specific kind of way because so much of your job is done solitarily. Is that a word? By yourself. And if you need help, it might take an hour and a half to get there.
The only backup might be another FWC officer because the local sheriff or police force doesn't have the equipment or the vehicle to get, say, deep in the woods to you, let alone the know-how because it's not an area they work in. And there's so few of us spread throughout the state that it can really be a situation where you kind of have to rely on yourself. And so physically, I look at my fitness as like, that may be the thing that gets me to go home to my family at the end of the night. So it's something that I take a lot more seriously now than maybe I used to.
Yeah, and that's cool to think about it like that, right? Because you can other than it just being fun, you can equate it to like a very important life goal.
Yeah. And it may not always be something where you're fighting someone or it's for yourself, but also like if I have to try and get to someone to save them, if someone's in the water because their boat sank or something like that, and I can't jump in and maybe swim and swim them back to a boat or swim them to shore if I need to because I'm not physically fit enough. I would never be able to live with myself thinking like if I was only in better shape, I could have saved that person.
Right. My first thought when you said that was going out into like mangroves or something. Like it's really hot here.
Oh yeah.
Anyone listening to this who doesn't live in Florida, it's like 90 degrees every day.
Like in December.
200% humidity. Like I think we see it whenever we go to like our outdoor competitions, people that are not acclimated to the heat because, those even very fit people will work out in like air conditioned gyms and they're just not ready for the way that heat kicks your ass,
Yeah.
So yeah, you can see why that fitness would be super important in everything you do.
Yeah. You're out there, you're wearing a bulletproof vest, you have all this gear and extra weight around you. And you're out there in the Florida heat. So just regular day-to-day duties, even not something extreme, takes a big toll on you. So being physically prepared for it just allows you to perform at another level in your job.
Side note, I remember being from Florida, being in the Army, just having been used to humid weather for years made such a big difference whenever we had to do like hot field training.
Yeah.
Yeah, because the people from like up north or from like the Northwest or cold areas, they'd fall out in the heat and all the southern dudes would be like, I don't notice this.
Yeah, they're having heat stroke and you're like, man, it's actually nice out today.
Yeah, it was a nice cool day. Who turned on the AC?
Yeah. Oh, that's funny.
All right, so being in the job and realizing that your life has changed a little bit, you getting a little bit older, like how has your fitness changed? How's your approach to fitness changed?
I think I touched on it a little bit before. I definitely take it more seriously now because I think potentially my life and safety or someone else's life and safety could depend on it. How physically capable I am, but also I don't recover quite as well as I used to.
That is something I'm realizing. Yeah.
Yeah. It's been a hard truth for me to realize, and one I've fought against maybe mentally more than I should. But I know I have to be a lot smarter with how I approach workouts now. I can't skip warming up properly. I can't skip recovery and cool down times or listening to my body when I need a day off. When I first got to CrossFit and I was younger, I could just show up at the gym and my first rep was the 155 clean I was going to do in the workout. And then that was it. I just went. That was my warm up. Or like I did an air squat and was like, all right, start the clock. Let's go. Yeah. And that would be fine. But now I have to be a lot more, more smart about it and I guess a lot smarter about it. Let's say it the right way.
Dude, Shannon and I joke about that all the time, especially back in the old gym. We would literally show up for like the 9:30 class at 9:29 and a half and be like, all right, let's do it. Time to snatch.
Yeah. Like, let's go. Yeah.
Like everything in me would fall apart if I did that now.
Yeah. Oh my God. Yeah. It would not work. You'd be out for a week.
Okay. So you, for a couple different reasons, had to spend quite a bit more time at home during the pandemic, not being able to come back to the gym yet, both because of your work and your personal life. What was it like having to work out on your own at home versus being in the gym, and how did you kind of deal with that? Because I expected you to be in way worse shape than you are right now. I won't lie.
Yeah, I think during one of my first workouts, you said, I think you lied to me about how much you've been working out. Yeah. That was tough. I think it's a weird transition to make, because just getting to the gym and being around other people who are motivated, who are working out, and being around your friends, that just helps you hit your workouts at another level. It's almost like you don't need a lot of self-motivation, because the motivation and the environment that you're in is around you through your coaches and through the other members. So when you're stuck at home and you don't have any of that, it's a big shift. It's really easy to let just distractions or things come up and either not work out at all or shortchange your workouts. I know at first I was skipping warm-ups, or I would work out, and since I was at home, I'm like, oh, let me just put everything away and I don't need to stretch. And I felt a big difference in how I was able to perform, and not warming up properly, not stretching. Things were a lot tighter, a lot less flexible than I used to be.
That's wild, because you're pretty flexible. So
I know, yeah. Maybe some of that's to do with age too. So there definitely was a big difference, and I think one of the things that helped was still following like our gym's programming, in following, I guess, the leaderboard, quote unquote, or where everyone posts in our app. That was a big like motivating factor, because then I would see where other people were at, and that would help me push myself to know, okay, I should be able to do, as many rounds as that person, or I should be able to do as much weight as this person. And so that helped me keep a little bit of that motivation, even though I wasn't physically there with someone, to still push myself to go further than I would if I was just totally on my own. So even though I was at home, I still had some connection to the gym.
Yeah. I think that's super smart, right?
Yeah.
That like you use the leaderboard as a tool rather than as like a burden.
Yeah.
Because you could very easily look at that and be like, oh my gosh, I'm not as good as I used to be, or I'm not as good as this person, right? But instead you said, okay, I know my general level of fitness. I know this person's general level of fitness. I have a good frame of reference for how I maybe should perform.
Yeah.
I think that's really smart.
Yeah, it helps you set a goal for how you're going to attack or approach a workout. And then, sometimes maybe you do better, sometimes you do worse and you don't hit it. But you at least have something that you're shooting for, and that helps motivate you.
Yeah, I'm the same way. It helps me too. Like, back in the day when you were here regularly, you were one of the people I'd look at and be like, okay, I know Brad is far faster than me at running, and he's a whole lot more flexible than me in squats. It's a safe bet that he's going to beat me on this workout, but I can probably stay within, a round of him or something.
Yeah. Or finish within a minute or whatever.
Yeah, and then if I don't, okay, now what have I learned from this?
Yeah. You know how to approach the workout next time, or what gaps you need to work on. And I think if you don't have that, if you don't have like a gym or something, or a leaderboard to go back to, if you're just totally on your own, there's still ways you can try and just keep track of your own performance and hold yourself accountable, retrying workouts over time and knowing what your previous scores were and trying to like re-meet those, or, exceed them. There's ways you can do it on your own and still stay motivated if you don't have any connection to a gym. But for me, I still had at least some connection to the gym, and that helped.
Yeah, that was a really important part for me when you were gone. Was like, I got to make sure this dude remembers he is still part of this family,
Yeah, you were really good about that, and that I think part of the time when I would keep reaching out to be like, are you sure, man? Like, I know I still have our programming and I'm still doing this. Like, are you sure you're okay with that? And you were like, dude, you're fine. Just
Well, I mean, because we know what it's like to be separated,
Yeah.
Like, Shannon right now is off in training, and same thing with him. It's like, hey man, did you do the workout?
Yeah.
Because it's at least something that keeps you in the circle, that feeling of community you were talking about.
Yeah. It helps you go out and attack a workout, or just get there at all on days that you don't feel like it and you're tired, and it'd be easy to say, I'm just going to sit on the couch and watch a movie instead.
Well, and we were talking about the other day, it's also a lot harder to reach like intensity on your own, right? Because
yes,
I know. So during the first quarantine, and then when I had COVID, it was about 2 months basically that I couldn't be around anybody. Steph and I were working out together in the garage, right? And man, my workouts would turn into 2.5 hours.
Yeah.
Because I'd just be kind of farting around. Like, I was not working out for 2.5 hours. It was
it was a lot of
a lot of me
time.
getting distracted, hopping on Slack to answer questions that I could have totally waited 12 minutes to get to, but I didn't,
exactly. Oh, let me run inside real quick for a little bit.
Oh, why's the dog barking? I got to go check on that. We don't have any kids, but if we had them, I imagine they'd be like, what are you doing? And you find a way to kind of get distracted by that. So I was very happy when I was able to get back in the gym and be like, the discipline is not needed anymore. I can just show up and have someone tell me what to do.
Yeah, that helps a lot. Just having a class and a coach, even as a coach myself, someone that just guides you through and doesn't let you get sidetracked and be like, oh, squirrel, I'm going to go over here. Like,
because that's totally true. Like as coaches, like I don't want to come in here and make everything up myself every day either.
Yeah.
I want to walk in and have you tell me what to do. Like,
that's one of the benefits of coming to a gym. That's kind of a good point. But I think if you don't have that, there's ways you can, if you are someone who maybe you can only work out at home and you don't have a connection to a gym, there's ways you can approach it to still try and make sure you're making the best use of your time. You can set clocks for your warm-ups and, set clocks for your cool down and things like that. So you're like, okay, I know I'm going to take 3 minutes to do my warm-up. So if you start farting around, you can see the clock ticking down and you're like, well, I better start doing this because I'm about to run out of time. But it's not the same as having a gym.
Yeah, but these are tactics from someone who was good at it versus someone who was not good at it.
Well, I don't know if good at it.
If I had been out of the gym for 9 months, I would not be able to do muscle ups anymore. So. Okay, so you were part of two really, like for us, man, like groundbreaking things, right? So at SharkBite, everybody at our gym who joins our gym does one-on-one training to start, right? Mm-hmm. And other gyms may not choose to do that, but that's okay. Like they're welcome to do whatever they want.
Yeah.
We feel that the best way to get someone to their fitness goals is to work one-on-one, right?
Yep.
And that one-on-one could be like traditional personal training, it could be nutrition coaching, it could be our beginners course, right, that we do. Mm-hmm. You were really important in two different ways there. So first, I did the majority of our beginners courses for years, right? Years and years. We had other coaches that would help out, but I would probably have 70 or 80% of them, right? And then you and Crystal were basically the first people I trusted to kind of take that off my plate,
Yeah.
And that was really important, man, because one, it freed me up to do other things, right? And like our gym, I'm saying it right now, without you and Crystal doing those, our gym is not where it is now. I should say our gyms are not where they are now.
Yeah, gyms now, right? Yeah, that's nice. Little flex there, maybe?
Yeah, I'm being totally honest, man. Yeah. Like, it's hard. Sometimes most of the time, it's really hard to be like, somebody else can handle this,
Yeah.
And I trusted you guys to do that. You guys ran our beginner's course. And you especially also kind of started our personal training process, right? Our one-on-one training process, right? So when we first talked, you wanted to be a coach, right?
Yep.
And one of the reasons that our visions and values align so well is you weren't like, I want to coach group CrossFit classes. I only want to teach people power cleans and muscle ups, right? You were like, I want to help people through coaching.
Yeah.
And I don't think I'm being disingenuous by saying this. You helped me shape a lot of how we did our one-on-one stuff. It was like, what do these people want? What do they need? How can we best get it to them?
Yeah.
How can we best help them get what they want? And it's like, for a lot of people, that is a group of, 10 or 15 other people in a class and doing a workout together. For a lot of people, that's not what it is,
Definitely.
Without saying too many specifics, what were some of the things we learned, like, as we were creating our personal training program?
That's a good question. I think, well, number one, just seeing the benefits of the one-on-one training and knowing how many people would have just gotten, say, lost in a class and probably would have tapered off and started coming or stopped coming rather after a while and just gotten lost in the fray. I think seeing the difference of some of those people as you've worked in them one-on-one and they've progressed so much more quickly and they stuck with it for such a longer period of time, and you can picture similar people who just got stuck in that group class and kind of faded off and got lost in the fray.
And that helped because you could like think back over the years and kind of think of those people, right?
Yeah.
Like I can see some in my head right now.
Exactly. Yeah. You kind of know those people and you feel like, man, as a gym, we almost failed them in a way because they got lost in the fray and
totally
in that group class, and that wasn't the right fit for them. So seeing that difference right away, that was a big learning experience, and that was maybe more just solidifying that we were going down the right path.
Right.
And I think also just seeing that with personal training, we could help such a larger variety of people, from whatever needs, people who have serious health or medical or mobility issues, but can still benefit from, some type of physical training that we can offer them, and seeing how we can customize the personal training programs in different ways to work with those types of people and still reach their fitness goals. That was really cool. And I think we learned a lot there. And also things like different time frames. I know we played around with like hour personal trainings, 45 minutes, 30 minutes, different times of the week to work with people's schedules. So it was it was a really great process, and I think we learned a lot in just how we can better serve such a larger community of people through personal training.
Yeah, I agree with that. I feel like we learned a lot, right? Like you said, kind of deciding timeframes, deciding the type of programming for them to use, deciding how to help people reach those goals. Like, I think it's really common for those of us who work out on a regular basis to assume you need to be working out 6 times a week. Right?
Yeah.
But
because that's what works for maybe
us,
you or me.
Right. And that doesn't make us special or better. It's just literally we've been training for, half a decade or a decade at this point. Like, our training age is different than somebody who is brand new to fitness and health lifestyle, right? So, like, that was something we learned, right? We definitely brought people on for too much to start sometimes.
Yeah.
Not realizing that, man, maybe once or twice a week would have been fantastic for them.
Yeah. At a slower pace and, maybe a lesser intensity and a way to help them learn the movements and just even sometimes just being comfortable in the gym too. And, if you're someone who group classes is really intimidating, just the gym environment as well is really intimidating. Working one-on-one with a coach and like building a strong relationship, and then slowly you start to get to know other people in the gym and you feel comfortable being there and you feel you can be more vulnerable there. Maybe you don't stick with personals forever. Maybe you get into group classes, but you needed that time period to just get comfortable being in the gym and get comfortable with the movements and what CrossFit is. And then we could set you off for there and you were good to go.
So it sounds like that a little bit about what you're talking about is kind of like our beginner's course, right?
Yep.
So I know hands down as a coach, my favorite and most fulfilling times were working with beginners.
Oh yeah.
Right. Like doing our beginner's course, which was a course where when you sign up with us, you do a very specific set of things to get you to a goal, right? Whether that's continued personal training or group classes in SharkFit or whatever else you want to be doing. The beginner's course was the most rewarding thing for me, I think, because
I'd agree.
It was so cool helping somebody who was like scared of it. Like, and maybe some people want to say they're too cool to say they were scared, but like you definitely were.
Yeah.
I know I was when I started.
Oh, I definitely was.
I was like a 22-year-old guy, and I just come home from Iraq, and I was still kind of scared of it. Like, it's intimidating as hell. Well, how was being a beginner's course coach for you? What did you learn from that working with newbies?
I think you learn a lot as a coach, number one, just how to coach better, how to give cues better, because sometimes you get people that you really have to get creative with the cues you give them or the ways you're trying to approach them to teach movements. And so it makes you better as a coach working with beginners.
It definitely does.
It forces you to think outside the box.
Nothing makes you better than that, I think.
Oh, absolutely. So that accelerated my own development as a coach in a lot of ways, but it also you build some really strong relationships with your members, and it's rewarding to see them go through that journey of you had them in a beginner's course. You started them where they could only do this, say, or they can only squat. They couldn't even squat the parallel. And next thing you know, 6 months later, you're seeing them run circles around other people in the gym and just make huge life improvements. And so it's a huge reward as a coach to see someone go through that transition and that development.
Yeah, I think you're totally right about that. That was something I would always keep as like a mark of pride. Is like the people that I worked with in beginners. How long are they around?
Yeah.
How many positive life changes did they have? And I always kind of felt like I got to have a little, selfishly, just have a little piece of that,
Yeah. You feel like you contributed in some way, which is why I got into coaching in the first place. And you build such a strong relationship with those people that the ones that you bring through the beginner's course, it's you have a bond that almost like they're your favorite people you see in the gym sometimes because you've just seen them from the get-go. And
whether you realize it or not, you're their favorite people. Right?
Yeah.
They look at you and they're like, that was my coach.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So it's a really rewarding experience.
Yeah, what I like about it too is I'm sure this is true in all other types of fitness. I don't know. I'm sure it is though, but especially in CrossFit coaching, it is sometimes very easy to kind of hide as the coach when there's a big group of people.
Oh, absolutely.
You have 20, 25 people. It's very easy to not actually coach,
Yeah.
You're kind of just like directing traffic and starting a clock and saying like, let's go,
Yeah. It's easy to say like, okay, we'll get everyone through this warm up and then we'll get to where the workout started. And then once they're in the workout, I'll just kind of make sure the music's blaring and no one dies. And then now the workout's over and we can go. So you can, and you can almost see like, say you're taking a class of 20 people and you're trying to teach, run through the power clean, and you see someone in the back corner doing something weird and you're like, I have no idea how to even correct that. Yeah. You could almost ignore that in a group class and get away with it.
Yeah.
And you'd be like, I'll just go over to Nick and say, hey, good clean, Nick, and then we'll move on to the next thing. Pretend like it never happened. But when you're one-on-one and you're teaching someone a power clean for the first time and they're doing something weird and you can't figure out how to give them the right cue to get through that, like you're one-on-one, like you're not moving on until you get through that.
Yeah, I've always felt like there's no hiding there. You know,
Yeah.
It's like I'm a coach and I have to coach you.
Yeah, like they're looking at you like,
Yeah.
all right, man, tell me what to do, and you're just like,
And it becomes very obvious if you don't know what to do.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
you said, it's that. That's one of the reasons why we cut down on class size. You know,
Mhm.
it's real easy to hide when there's 30 people in front of you, right?
Yeah.
Whole lot less when there's 12. You know,
Oh yeah,
it becomes real obvious. Like, okay, I can now dedicate time to that person, and a big part of that, dude, is what we learned when we were kind of creating our one-on-one training.
yep,
Was how much we were able to give in that one-on-one setting. It was like, okay, cool. How can we take portions of that and put it in that group setting?
yeah.
Because you were a member here when we had 35-person classes.
Oh yeah,
You know,
yeah. It was insane, and for me, I was young and fit, and knew the movements pretty well, so I maybe didn't notice as much of a difference at first. But for someone like trying to imagine myself being new and like struggling to get a cue or learn a movement, like it would feel like hopeless.
madness. It'd be like, no way. I love that feeling, and I understand that could make some coaches, especially newer coaches, kind of uncomfortable. But I love that feeling of kind of like being on the spot and being like, this person needs me to help them do the thing they're trying to do. They obviously don't know how to do it on their own, and that's why the hell they're here for me. You know.
Yeah.
Now my challenge is like, let's do it. Let's make it happen.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you only really get that way in one-on-one sessions.
Yeah. I agree. But if you're able to make it work, it's such a huge reward.
Yeah, and then the development curve is so high. You know?
Yeah.
Well, that's cool. I definitely want to make sure we talk about that because I'm saying it again. Without you and Crystal taking that off my plate, I can't imagine where we'd be right now. So.
Well, I appreciate that.
Yeah. Dude, anything else you want to bring up? Is there stuff you want to talk about that I'm not thinking of?
That's a good question. I guess, do you want to get into it all? I don't know if you've talked about it with other people on podcasts. Like, I know we touched on it a little bit, but like moving away from the CrossFit name and maybe how you view like our gym as being a functional fitness gym and what that looks like going forward.
Yeah, let's.
Man, I feel like I'm interviewing you now.
Let's hold off on that for another one. 'Cause I feel like that one could be its own hour-long conversation.
Okay, yeah, that's fair. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know if anything comes to mind.
Okay, well, this definitely won't be the last time you're out here. So, being that you're somebody who came and took breaks and then took a really long break and came back, right?
Yeah.
Like, if you were talking to somebody who was new, right, and they were scared about joining or scared about trying to work out or kind of making that next step to like a more healthy lifestyle, what would you tell them?
Just go for it. I mean, you have to take that leap of faith. I know it's really scary and it's really nerve-wracking, and there's a lot of easy excuses, to prevent you from ever going there, but just walk through the door. I promise you, once you walk through the door and you realize how welcoming it is, and even if it's not a Shark Bite Fitness gym, but if you're whatever gym out there is worth their weight in salt, once you walk through the door, you'll realize that it's just a place of welcoming people where everyone's trying to get better. And once you get through the door, the hardest part's over, and you'll love it. You'll never go back.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Thanks, bro.
Yeah.
This
Thank
is fun.
you, man.
We're definitely going to do this again.
Oh, yeah.
Not be the last time you're on.
I look forward to it.
Thanks, guys.
Yep. See ya.
All right. Thanks for hanging out with us today on the Shark Bite Show. If you'd like to get a hold of us, you can find us on Facebook or Instagram at Shark Bite Fitness and Nutrition, or on our website at sharkbitefitness.com. If you'd like to find out more about our guests, their information will be in the show notes. If you'd like to talk to us about getting more fit, feel free to schedule a free no sweat intro at one of our locations in Cape Coral, Fort Myers, or Naples, Florida.